Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. Going into a great weekend. Today I want to talk to you about Megatron and problems with Megatron, with the design and making it into a figure, and these problems plague every figure. But I want to talk about the Studio Series. Yeah, I know Friday's about Masterpiece, and yes, there's going to be Masterpiece stuff shown in here and discussed in here. But I'm going to show the pictures that I have of this Studio Series Leader Class Megatron, discuss the good and bad with it. It's a pretty good looking figure overall. Discuss the good and bad with this figure, and then get into the problems that plague all of them and which of those problems apply here. Maybe it's a little bit of fun, but it's a little bit of hopefulness for third party. And I will be picking this up, by the way. Let's get into talking about this and more coming up. So I do not buy very much Hasbro stuff anymore. When it comes to Transformers, I really like the third-party Masterpiece and Legends, and the Hasbro stuff I do have quite a bit, but a lot of stuff's getting regurgitated and made again. But I will tell you this Megatron looks better than any Megatron they have made. And it is closer to, there's nothing perfect, but closer to perfection in the mainline than what we've seen. Now expect to get 3, 4, 5 different repaints of it in the future. But he's taller than their Galvatron, and with that, it is a little bit on the tall side, which is fine because it's going up against a Commander Class Optimus Prime, which, by the way, the Commander Class Optimus Prime is getting a reissue. Now, a lot of people thought it was going to be a reuse of this one here. Is it Megatronus, I think is what they call this one. But I don't really see much reuse. When you have part reuse, it's the exact same part, just cast in a different color. And I don't see it. And a lot of times it's like 60% part reuse, 40% new parts. And I don't see 1% same parts going on here. Maybe the hips, the inside. No, maybe not even that. So it's a different figure, and it looks really good. And when we start looking at some of the screenshots, that's when you're going to see why it looks so good, though. And then here it is next to MP36. Now this is where you start wanting to nitpick it, and I will have to say MP36 still overall is the winner. MP36 still wins overall because of the fact that it matches the animation the most. Is MP36 perfect? No, not by a long shot. Do we deserve a better Masterpiece one than the MP36 Megatron? Yes, we do. Does this new one still look good and kind of hold its own next to MP36? Yeah, it does. So the next thing I want to do is kind of define the Sunbow character and screenshots. There's a difference between Sunbow and screenshots, and when we get into the problems, this is one of the problems when it comes to making a figure. Now, looking at Sunbow, you see the cannon's lighter, it's like a light gray, the waist is a light gray, the lower legs almost have a blue tinge to them. See, so using the Sunbow, like this is what the Sunbow picture looks like, versus what's actually in the cartoon, you get two different things, and I have about 8 screenshots. This one is very close to my 8 screenshots, so I figure no reason to flash all 8 screen grabs up here at once, but as you can see, I'm going to just use this as a nice, easy Sunbow comparison, but you see the differences here. Putting this next to the Sunbow, there are 2 major complaints that most people have. The complaint number 1 is that the lower legs are way too big. Now that is because they cram the treads inside of there. So that is one of the problems. And I agree, it is a problem. One of the other problems is that the lower legs are blue. And you see it's because that's what the Sunbow is going with, even though that's not really what the animation showed and what we're used to seeing. So when we look at it, it seems odd. So it's like going too close to the Sunbow, which the animation didn't 100% follow, is a problem. Oh, we're not getting into problems yet. We're just looking at this and comparing it. And the upper shoulders on this Studio Series Leader Class Megatron have some waffling in it, but there's not a lot of waffling anywhere else. And I wonder why they chose the design choice to have like that open section in the shoulders. The other thing that's kind of bothering me is the waist. You see like the pinholes in it. It doesn't bother other people as much as it bothers me, but I'm just curious why they went with that design. I understand why they went with it for the use for the actual joint to work, but is there not a better way to make that happen? And then I do love how clean the arms are. I do love how clean the waist, the ab area is. I like the chest is a bit on the big side. I would have liked it a little bit smaller, but at the end of the day, very nice looking offering. Now we're into the official pictures put out by Takara, and as you can see, there's very little gappiness to it. You see the upper thigh has just kind of where it connects. It is what it is, not a big deal. The inner part of the leg has a lot going on with it. It is really close to third-party transformation with the leg and how the leg operates. And with all of this going on with it, it still looks pretty clean overall. Now, I'm gonna get this, but I do believe down the road we are gonna see one of these come out that's gonna be painted to be more like what we would expect. Maybe they'll say it's a toy coloration. Maybe they'll come up with some excuse. Movie version, something along those lines. Still looks good. Now, as the tank mode, it does transform into a tank. Now, I don't really care that it transforms into a tank because of the whole gun situation, and that is something we'll address a little bit more down the road. And as you can see, they include a little gun, so just let your imagination. Heck, you never ever have to transform it. The fact it turns into a tank, there's no reason to transform it. You literally just pull the gun off and hand it to Starscream and say, guess what? He just transformed. The mass shifting just occurred. There we go. Let your imagination work. As for a tank, it looks okay. It's not great. I mean, I've never really seen Megatron turn into a tank that I thought looked really good. I've seen Warpath turn into a good-looking tank. And I've seen Blitzwing turn into an okay-looking tank. Never have I seen a Megatron look like it turned into a good-looking tank. Now, here is the back of it, and you get to see what's going on. You can store all of this stuff on his back and the ports. They've designed that in. Very third-party-ish. And then looking at the treads hiding in the lower legs, which make the legs fat. And they could have slimmed the legs down a little more if they didn't have all that inside there. And with that, I mean, it looks like the coloration was really good for the legs, except for right in the front where you need it the most. Here's Starscream holding the gun accessory that it comes with, which I think is ingenious to say we are not sidestepping the issue. We're not going around the issue. We're directly saying we got to make it a tank, but here's the gun so that it's still G1. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I have others that actually do turn into guns. So I'm okay with it because that's just a Hasbro thing. And then we get into size comparison with Prime. So this is the Commander Class Optimus Prime. He is taller than the Commander Class Optimus Prime, and they're going this new direction here. So these look great. I'm glad they didn't try to force on you a whole bunch of extra parts or something to make it a Commander Class, to just call it a leader and let it look really good, and that's fine with me. So this is a win for all of the Mainline collectors, and then also just someone who wants a clean looking Megatron, it's a win for you. Also, the barrel plugs into the back, which I guess I should have shown that. And this is a pretty solid offering. Now for the first problem that I have with Masterpiece Megatrons, or any Megatron that's made out there, they seem to mess up the lower legs. And I don't know exactly why, but aside from MP36, this is the Make Toys, Make Toys one. I never liked the look of the lower legs, and I didn't like the head sculpt. Everything else I could have lived with, I guess. But the legs and the head sculpt, they just felt way off to me. And so with that, I passed on it and moved on. Of course, this Make Toys turns into a gun, and the other one turns into a tank. And I actually think it's easier to make a Megatron that looks G1 that turns into a tank. I think it's actually easier than turning it into a gun. As much as I like what Yellow Park is doing, I never really liked how big the lower legs are. I felt like they were too big, and now with analyzing all of these screenshots, the arms are too big too. The torso is pretty close, spot on, and as you can see with this, look how much better the waist piece looks when you have a hip flap covering up all of the hardware versus just some pins showing. And so with that, that's how a non-transforming figure can look better. It's possible. Hopefully down the road, Yellow Park realizes that they can make the arms a little slimmer and the legs a little slimmer and put that out in a pack. And then, of course, you can just swap them. If you like something on this that you don't like on the original, you could just swap them. It would work. But anyhow, the Yellow Park is good. It's 8-inch and not true math. Maybe, I haven't checked. Maybe these are around the same size. Maybe these will be about the same size. Next, we got Masterpiece DX9 Mitron. DX9 Mitron, and it's their Megatron take. I want to say with this one that his lower legs are also a problem. They're smaller, slimmer, more slimlined, streamlined. His arms don't have a bunch of kibble on them. He's pretty clean overall. Just the legs are up and down. They don't have any curvature to them. Now, there was some add-on piece that put curvature and then made them too big. So with that, the one downside to this is that it doesn't have the smooth front curvature of the legs. Correct curvature. I would say we've got a decent curvature on this new figure, but the Mitron was my second favorite. I like MP36 the most, and then I like the Mitron when it comes to the Masterpiece. And then enter the Magic Square Megatron, and I've got to say, I've always felt like the lower legs were too big on Magic Square. Megatron would have liked them thinner also. They carry this too big a lower leg syndrome also, but it's actually not as bad in the Legend scale, but could they make it Masterpiece scale? It's a good looking figure overall. I know they would do some stuff different. I'm assuming they would streamline those legs just a little bit. If they upscaled this thing, that would be awesome. But yeah, that lower legs is an issue. But right now, I mean, you're looking at it. Do you like Magic Square's overall aesthetic more than what's going on with Studio Series? The next problem with Megatron plagues every character, and that's the variation from scene to scene, from frame to frame. He looks a little bit different from one scene to another. Colorations vary, they change, and with that, it's kind of hard. It's hard for me to just nail a full body picture of Megatron so that the beliefs in my head, the picture that I have of the character, can be conveyed in, I can prove what I'm thinking. And it's kind of sad in a world that we have to kind of prove what we're thinking. But this is why I have these preferences, a certain level of preference, because I've seen this on the screen for decades, and that's why what I want out of a Megatron. And then a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't have to make it exactly like the screen, stylize it up a bit, but that's not what sells, and that's not what Studio Series 86 is all about. It's all about matching the cartoon, matching the movie technically, and I have a movie cell in here too, but I've got a lot of pictures to show, and looking at all this, they are slightly different. There's some variations from one to the next, and that's with every character. You probably see it with Starscream in here. That's every single character, and across the board, it does vary, it does change as things, for whatever reason, they do their animation, that from one episode to different parts of the episode, it could look different, including the movie. Next up, we have the issue of it has to turn into a gun. And does it turn into a gun? Well, there's a large group of people that will not be interested in buying any Megatron that doesn't turn into a gun. And with that, the fact that it turns into a tank, the Studio Series Studio Series Leader class does not have to turn into a gun. It can match the original cartoon a whole lot more. The G1 look for Megatron's easier to achieve if it turns into a tank from what I'm seeing here. And all of the Megatrons that I own. Megatron's been getting a lot of attention lately. And this is New Age's Romulus on the right there, Romulus is a decent looking figure. I don't like how the waist looks, the pelvis looks, and looking at the chest, I would have liked a cleaner chest, like we see with this, but it has to transform into a gun. And they do it the way they do it, which is quite ingenious, actually. I'm impressed how they accomplished it, but it's a good looking figure overall in both modes. But does Romulus look better than the Studio Series? I don't know. There are things Studio Series does better. There are things New Age did better. And I have to say it, New Age is a little too short. Simply because they were trying to go up against the Earthrise and not be massively overscaled. And now, with the Commander class and this new Megatron, those are massively overscaled in comparison to New Age. Again, I'm okay with this giving us the gun and just use your imagination, pull it off his back and give it to Starscream and say he just transformed, and then put it under a table or something until you want to pull him back out and he transforms back. That works. That works with imagination. That works for me. Would have loved it if we could have gotten that accessory when we were kids. Now, I do want to pull up the red figure that was made. I don't think it was a bad figure overall, but in my opinion, the figures that are just action figures should have matched the animation absolutely perfectly. This is close, but it's not, it's no cigar. But here it is compared to the red figure, which I think the red looked alright. They were just too short, and the life of Transformers Red was too short because they are no longer getting made. They're not around anymore, and a lot of promises not kept there. This is Super 7 Ultimates, which is about 7-inch tall, so won't work for your Masterpiece shelf. Probably would work okay for the Studio Series, but I still think that the Megatron is going to be taller than what Super 7 did. But the Super 7 one, I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of missing something. Something's missing about it. The lower legs look a little bit big for me, and the chest is ginormous. But I'm just curious if anyone likes this version. It's just another version that's out there. What else plagues good old Megatron in the bot mode? It just seems like they can't seem to nail him for one reason or another. They can't seem to catch that likeness. And what frame are they looking at? Or why is he so bulky? He doesn't need to be that bulky. I like the Studio Series better than what Super 7 did. And I'm the biggest Super 7 shield in the world. So it comes back around to this being a great offering for $55. I think it's a no-brainer if you collect the mainline. If you don't collect mainline, then you might think about it. Maybe you wait for repaint number 3 or 4. Who knows what's going to go on with all of that. But I still want to see Magic Square. Magic Square should put theirs out, and I would love to see a masterpiece from Magic Square like they're doing with the Combiner and Bruticus. But obviously we got to get Bruticus done, we got to get the Dinobots done, and then Megatron should be after that. It just seems logical. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Teddy, hang around.